Given the ongoing threats in the region, the United States will continue to increase our security cooperation with our GCC partners, including helping them improve their own capacity to defend themselves. And I thanked our GCC partners for their support of the comprehensive deal that has now cut off every single one of Iran's pathways to a nuclear weapon. That makes the region safer. We'll remain vigilant to ensure that Iran fulfills its commitments, just as we fulfill ours.
When a head of state makes an official visit to the country of another nation, one that is considered friendly and in partnership, it is not the standard protocol for that head of state to be snubbed when arriving at the airport. Yet that is exactly what happened to American President Barack Obama. Arriving in Saudi Arabia, he landed in Riyadh and was not greeted by the kingdom's ruler. Instead, it was the governor of the province who was there to shake hands. A major snub coming at a time when relations between Americans and the Saudis are at a fractious point, and most of it leads back to 9/11. The reality then of what this means and what it means moving forward. He is the professor of international affairs and head of the International Affairs Department at the Bush School of Government and Public Service at Texas A&M University, Professor F. Gregory Gause, joined by the senior fellow and director of the Center on Peace and Liberty at the Independent Institute in Washington, D.C., Dr. Ivan Eland. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for joining us. Professor, let me begin with you first. How big a snub is it really, or are we making too much of the fact that the president was not greeted at the airport?
It's a snub. The Saudis don't particularly like President Obama. They don't like the Iran deal that much, but even more, they don't like his restraint in terms of the Syria policy. They would like to see the United States much more involved against Bashar al-Assad.
Knowing full well then that they don't like him and the president will be leaving soon, how much backlash do you think this will have in the future? I mean, are the Saudi relations at a point right now where they're going to take years to repair, or just getting one guy out of office?
I don't think that there's going to be that much repairing needing to be done, frankly. Whoever is president next, I think the Saudis will be able to work with that person. They're going to look for a stronger position on Syria. My guess is that they're not going to find it, even from Hillary Clinton. I don't think that she's going to introduce American troops into Syria in a big way. I don't think she's going to be that much more active. I think that there are going to be plenty of tensions going forward with the Saudis, no matter who is president. But I also think that there are enough common interests that we're not going to see a break in the relationship.
Dr. Eland, let's put it this way when it comes down to Saudi Arabia. Years ago, it was always about the oil between the Saudis and America and the kind of power that they had in OPEC. Who really needs the other side more, Saudis, America, or America, Saudi Arabia?
I think the Saudis need us more. I mean, there were so many misconceptions about Saudi, even in the old days, that they had control over the cartel. Most economists will say that cartels are very difficult to control because of the cheating. And now with the fracking, we need them even less than that. And they're bad on human rights. They're only concerned about hitting the Iranian-backed Houthis instead of going after al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and ISIS, the people we want them to hit, and they don't do that because they're Sunnis. And also, as the president has accurately said, they're freeloaders, not only in the fight in ISIS, but in picking up their, share the expenses to defend the Gulf.
Well, let me get right there, because the freeloader idea here, there are many people who still look at what we do with the Saudis and say, look, why militarily are we, as Americans, why are we always bailing the Saudis out? Are we the guys who really need to be there at all times, just basically having their back? Are we overthinking this?
Well, I think we need to question whether we need so many forces in the Gulf. We never had them there before the first Gulf War. And, like I said, the energy picture has changed, and we probably didn't need them there to begin with. It costs more for us to defend the oil than the oil's worth. And so I think we need to reassess our posture in the Middle East. China is much more important, I think, from a security standpoint than the Middle East. But yet we keep getting mired down in these conflicts in the Middle East.
Professor Gause, I mentioned 9/11 a couple of moments ago. In your opinion, how frightened should the Saudis be if indeed the American public finds out a little bit more about that connection?
I don't think they have to be frightened at all. I think that these allegations about Saudi official involvement in 9/11 are ludicrous. They're will-o'-the-wisp. These 28 pages, I hope that they do get finally revealed. I think that what they're going to indicate is that there were some connections between officials from the Saudi consulate and a couple of the people who ended up on the attacks of 9/11, but they were normal kinds of contacts that a consulate would have with citizens. These were followed up by the 9/11 Commission, and the 9/11 Commission found that there was no evidence of direct Saudi governmental official involvement in 9/11. I don't think they have anything to worry about.
60 seconds left, 30 seconds to the both of you then. Let me begin with you, Professor Gause. What needs to happen going forward for America to have a much harder hand, if you will, to basically have that relationship with the Saudis and not have to always be seen as sometimes kowtowing to them?
I don't think we kowtow to them. I think we have an interest in preventing any one power from dominating the Persian Gulf. That includes the Iranians. The Iranians are now geopolitically the top power in the region, and I think we have an interest in a better relationship with Iran, but also in a good relationship with other Middle East countries like Saudi Arabia to provide a balance there.
Dr. Eland, how tough is it going to be going forward when the Saudis look at us as being friendly to Iran?
Well, I think we do need to improve our relationship with Iran, and we also need to ask ourselves how friendly we want to be with a country who's the major exporter of Islamic radicalism around the world. All these problems that we have all over the world, they've been at least partially created by the Saudis spreading their Wahhabism on these madrasa, these schools around the world teaching radical things, and they're supposed to be our friend. They're kind of like Pakistan. Our best friend is our best enemy.
Sort of like making sure that you have your thumb on these guys and saying, look, we're going to be friends, but we're not going to be friends on your terms. I think that's what a lot of Americans are still afraid of to this day. Dr. Ivan Eland, Professor Gregory Gause, gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. I hope we get a chance to talk again. We still look forward to finding out what that relationship is and what it will need to be in the future, especially under a new president. Stay with us. The Hard Line continues.